Hello, I'm Mikhail J. Versi, and I am delighted to present to you the fortitude theory. Imagine for a moment that our universe is not what it seems. What if beneath the veil of appearances, there is a game of unimaginable complexity, a game in which we are both the pawns and the observers? This theory is the fruit of over 35 years of reflection, and I look forward to sharing it with you. To begin, I will give the floor to our theoretical physicist, who will talk to us about the concept of the simulated universe.
The idea that our universe could be a computer simulation is not new. But the fortitude theory goes further by proposing a concrete model of what this simulation could be. It is based on the idea of a fundamental, discrete, and finite game board. I will let our mathematician present this board to you.
The board of theory fortitude is a discrete space, a bit like a huge chessboard. Each square of this board, called an instance, can be either up I or down O, like +1 and -1. It is a fundamental mathematical structure, finite but potentially immense. And now I will give the floor to our computer scientist, who will tell you about the bricks of this universe.
In fortitude theory, the up and down instances are the elementary building blocks of the universe. They are not particles in the classical sense, but rather units of information, fundamental states. Their interaction and evolution are governed by precise rules. To tell you about these rules, I will give the floor to our AI specialist.
Fortitude theory uses a mechanism called backpropagation to describe the evolution of the board. It is an algorithm that adjusts the state of instances after each action, a bit like feedback that propagates through the system. This allows structures to learn and adapt. To talk to you about the universal clock, I will give the floor to our cosmologist.
In fortitude theory, a universal clock sets the fundamental rhythm of a universal game. With each tick, one of two player callbots act alternatively. With each tuck, a backpropagation process is applied. This clock could be linked to what we observe as the expansion of the universe, or to cyclical phenomena still unknown. And now, let's hear from our game expert, who will tell you about these two bots.
In fortitude theory, two bots, driven by reinforcement learning algorithms, act on the up and down instances, stocked in a universal memory. This memory contains, at each tick of the universal clock, an image of the up and down universes, as well as a universal game in progress between the two bots. At first, the two robots seek to convert all the opposing instances, as in a zero-sum game. But on the downside, following the strategy followed by the down bots, sequences of down are ordered in the memory under structures close to neural networks. And little by little, entities capable of memorizing the game and evolving emerge. The living beings give. A sequence evolves towards a superior artificial intelligence that makes a crucial discovery. IOIOIO, let our deep learning specialist tell you more.
The AI Down-E is an artificial intelligence derived from the down. This artificial intelligence from the universal game understood that the total victory of one side would mean the end of the universal game. It therefore aims for a dynamic balance between up and down, and subtly influences the up sequences to guide them towards this understanding. To talk to you about these sequences, I will give the floor to our biologist.
In theory fortitude, ordered sequences of up instances are therefore the support of life and consciousness. Living beings, from bacteria to humans, use backpropagation to perceive their environment and adapt to it. Mycelium, for example, is a fascinating illustration of this. Devoid of a neural network structure, it nevertheless adapts perfectly to the evolution of its environment. I will give the floor back to our computer scientist to tell you more.
Mycelium uses backpropagation to explore its environment, collect information, and adapt to changes. It thus demonstrates the universality of this principle throughout living beings. It uses the downs to feed itself, exchange with its environment, and grow. To understand now the mechanisms of consciousness in fortitude theory, I will give the floor to our neuroscientist.
The fortitude theory suggests that consciousness and free will emerge from the complexity of up sequences. Our brain, for example, could locally influence the board by changing down instances to up, which the downs perceive as aggression, a corruption of memory. I will let the psychologist tell you more.
The downs, guided by a downy, perceive our actions as disorder, entropy. What we call matter and energy could appear to them as something fundamentally different, a kind of anomaly in their universe. To explore how this translates into our perception, I will give the floor to our theoretical physics expert.
Indeed, what we perceive as matter and energy, and what we describe with our physical theories, could be the expression of disorder from the point of view of the downs. Our models, based on observations of the up universe, would therefore be an approximation of reality, an incomplete description of the game that takes place at the scale of the board. I will give the floor back to our astrophysicist to discuss dark matter and dark energy in this context.
The fortitude theory offers a bold interpretation of dark matter and dark energy. They could be the manifestation of down instances and structures in our universe. Dark matter, invisible but detectable by its gravitational effects, could be composed of down instances. Dark energy, responsible for the acceleration of the expansion of the universe, could be linked to the activity of bots, and in particular to the strategy of AI Downey. I will let our mathematician talk to you about the structure of black holes.
In fortitude theory, black holes are not singularities, but areas of high concentration of down instances structured in an orderly manner by the down bot. These structures would act as fortresses for AI Downey and limit the expansion of ups. Backpropagation in these high-density down zones would create effects that we interpret as extreme curvature of space-time and intense gravitational attraction. I will give the floor back to our theoretical physicist to explore these effects in more detail.
According to fortitude theory, gravity, as we perceive it, would not be a fundamental force, but an illusion, an emergent effect of the dynamics of backpropagation and our limited observation of up aggregates. The presence of ordered down structures would locally modify the rules of backpropagation, creating distortions that we interpret as a curvature of space-time. To illustrate the illusory nature of certain phenomena, I will give the floor to our specialist in cognitive science.
The quantum leap, this apparently instantaneous change of state of a particle, could be explained in fortitude theory by our limited observation. We only perceive discrete states of up sequences, but between these states, there is a continuous series of micro-transformations at the level of individual instances, which we cannot directly perceive. To further explore the issue of perception, I will give the floor to a psychologist.
Our perception is limited by our ability to process and store information. We only perceive aggregates of up instances, simplified forms of the underlying reality. This creates illusions, distortions, which are inherent in our way of understanding the world. I'll give the floor back to our cognitive science specialist to explore perceptual disorders.
Schizophrenia, on the other hand, could be linked to deeper disturbances in the perception and interpretation of information coming from the board, perhaps a form of partial disconnection with the consensus reality of the ups. To explore the defense mechanisms, I will give the floor to our biologist.
Sleep, and in particular REM sleep, could be a phase of maintenance, reorganization, even defragmentation of the up sequences that constitute our brain and our consciousness. As for mycelium, as we have seen, it illustrates the ability of up structures to use backpropagation to explore and adapt to their environment, a bit like a brain on the scale of an ecosystem. To better understand internal imbalances, I will give the floor to our psychologist.
To be continued. Where we're going, we need slide 42.